So here's my buddy sitting out here waiting on me. He's kind of gotten in the habit of jumping in the golf cart and riding around with me, and I kind of like that. I sort of want to get him in the habit of riding around with me in the boat too, but I've been a little more nervous about doing that because in the boat we could wind up being someplace out on the lake where I wouldn't want him to jump out, and he might jump out and run off in the woods and who knows get into what. So haven't gotten out yet, but we've been doing a lot of this golf cart riding, and I think it's so cool. Hang on, buddy, here we go. Whee! Whee! That's my boy right there. My golf riding buddy, ain't you? There you are. So we're gonna ride out here to the pickup truck and we'll talk a little bit about it. As you know, I bought a truck from a buddy of mine that he's had for many years, and I've kind of admired it from a distance and sort of wished I had the opportunity to own it and work on it. And I got that opportunity a while back, so I brought it home on a trailer. It wasn't running, it hadn't run for a long time. And I looked up and read a lot of things on YouTube about what to do, and an awful lot of people were converting these to gas engines. This is that electronic fuel injection 89, and it's pretty early when that fuel injected idea kind of came out. A lot of people sort of bypassed that and wound up putting carburetors on these engines, which is basically a 302 Ford, which is a very dependable engine going back to forever. Ford came out with the 289. I don't know if they came out with it then, but they had it in that 65 Mustang, and then they upgraded that to a 302, and the 302 has been with us, I guess, ever since. They call it a 5.0 now because the communist Europeans converted American know-how to metric, and then they had to have extra numbers for things that don't mean anything. But we won't get into that because that's political. So when I brought this truck home, I put a fresh battery in it. I put some good non-ethanol gas in it. I checked the fuel lines. I was taking the spark plugs out of it just to spin it over, and one of the spark plugs was not connected to the plug wire, and it had burnt the end on the spark plug. So I put new spark plugs in it at Cutworm, and some of y'all know Cutworm59. He's out in Indiana. He's an awesome guy, big into cars. He advised me to put a new distributor cap and rotor button on it, which I did. Got it running sort of barely and really very badly, but got it running. And then I was talking to him about converting it to a carburetor, and he said, no, don't do that. He said, keep everything original and just make it work right. And he was a mechanic for Ford out there for years, and he understands these engines. So I've been going on his advice, and we've done a few things. I put this, and I won't call it the right thing. It's idle, some kind of idle regulator thing on here. I put that on there. And it was running pretty good, but it wouldn't start by itself. I'd still have to squirt a little ether in here to get it running. And once I got it running, it would run, but just not very well. It sounded like it was skipping, sounded like it was knocking. So I told them the other day I'm going to be working on the Studebaker because I was getting it ready to put air conditioner in it, and I've been working on the garage to put air conditioning in it, and I've been insulating that. You see Buddy sitting, he's waiting there for me to get ready to go again. So I said, think about what might be causing, what I might need to do next. Well, he got back to me and he said, he sent me a picture of one of these, and he says, this is a map sensor. Buy one of these and put it on there. So I went online and looked it up, and they said to disconnect the battery and put that on there. Well, this little line right here goes to a vacuum line. He said make sure it's got vacuum, and it goes in like this, and you need one of these little 9/32 wrenches. That's from way back in the old days, boys and girls. And he said put that in, so I did. Basically, up under the bottom of this thing, there's a little plug, and where this is located is right there. And that little multicolored plug that you see going into it, you have to reach up under it, and on the bottom of it there's a little thing you have to kind of pull it up and pull the thing up out, and it unplugs. So this came in the mail yesterday, and late in the day I came down and stuck it on here, and let's see if it'll crank without putting any ether to it. Almost. I thought I was gonna have it. See, I did go ahead and put a new air cleaner, air filter inside the canister here, and I thought I had this thing done. Nope, not gonna crank for me that way. Dang, I say. So what I've been doing to get it to run is I pull these two tubes off. It goes to the air cleaner. Take me a little bit of this ether. Put it in there. She's a runner. Now, if you listen to it, and you can still hear that little whistle from that belt, that's not too hard to fix. It's running on all 8 cylinders. Now, before it sounded like it was running on 6 or 7. It's got a little slight tapping, which sounds a lot like a lifter. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about putting some Lucas oil treatment in there. That's a totally good idea. Back in the old days, we used to use STP. I don't think STP is as well known as it was back then, but you could buy some. In fact, it was really common. Go to a gas station, fill up, buy a can of STP, pour in your old motor. We was losing a lot of oil out of them old motors anyway, so you know, we just kind of be like a way of topping off the oil, and that was always a good thing for it. Little by little, doing what Cutworm says, using the original system, progress is being made. I thought it was going to crank by itself this morning, but it didn't. But we were close. We were very close. So I'm going to keep my buddy Cutworm on the case and keep talking to him. One thing I noticed, I had this running yesterday. One thing I noticed, rev up the other day, I'd go to rev up and it would just sputter. But it is kind of revving up now. Got a little hesitation still, but it's closer. You hear it hesitating and backfiring a little. We're getting there. So, I'm going to keep consulting with Cutworm, and we'll keep working our way along here. Buddy, I didn't scare you off, did I? I might have. I'm sorry. We can get back on the golf cart and ride around some more. I'll put this back in here. So, I thought I was going to come down here and we're going to celebrate. This thing starts all by itself now, but not. Oh, one thing about it, once you crank it with ether, it'll crank on its own after that. I guess it just needs that little bit of a warm up. Cranks right up, runs good, runs pretty good. But we're still working on the process. It's not all going to happen at once. But I can drive it around the yard. I drove it over into the garage the other day. Stood on the back of it while I was working in there. I'll take my stool away because I'm using it out in the garage. And we'll go out and take a quick good morning look at the where I've gotten to with the Studebaker so far. Oh yeah, take off really fast and drop your thing on the ground. That's cool. That's very cool. That's what you get for trying to be a show off, I guess. This bench used to be my mama's bench at work. She used to work at Simmons Beauty Rest, and she would step up on that bench to get more material, and she wore her feet prints in this bench from doing that. She sewed on industrial sewing machines, couches couches and mattresses and all sorts of things like that. So the garage is actually looking pretty good out here. I've got these air conditioners going. I've got some insulation in here. I've got some lighting.